Alright, so for our first example, we said step 1, use the long division bar. So I'm going to write my long division bar here. The numerator goes on the inside. Be sure, just like on the last example, when we did it with numbers, to be very careful about your columns. Notice I have an x squared column and everything above and below it is going to be x squared. And then I have a x column and everything below and above is going to be x. And everything in the last column is going to be a number above and below the 8 because 8 is a number. The divisor x minus 2 goes out in front. Step 2, divide the first term of the numerator by the first term of the denominator. Remember when we divided on the number problem, we didn't divide the whole numerator by the whole denominator. That was too hard for us. I couldn't take 4,281 and divide it by 35 in my head, but I could do just part of it, 42 divided by 35. I was able to do that. So when I divide, I'm just going to take a part divided by the part. So I'm going to take the first term x squared and divide it by the first term x. If you need to use some scratch paper somewhere and do x squared divided by x, notice I subtract my exponents and I just get x to the 1, or really just x. Now I put that on top, and I'm going to put that above the 5x because this is the x column. So everything above and below this column needs to be x. So that was my D step. Next, my M step says to multiply. So now I'm going to multiply the x here by both terms in the denominator. Notice that when I divided, I only divided the first term of the numerator divided by the first term in the denominator because that's all I could do. But when I multiply, I actually multiply to both. So we have x times x, and that gets me x squared. I am going to erase these little arrows, so this is what I would have done with my finger if we were in class, but since I'm online you can't see that, so I'm going to erase those. You might not want to write that. But x times x gets you x squared. Write that underneath x squared. X times minus 2 is minus 2x, and now I erase these little lines, okay? That was step M. I'm going to actually erase this and make this blue. Then C step. I did this on red because we're changing the signs. This is the subtract step. But if I just subtract here, then people would only subtract the x squared and not the negative 2x. So what I do instead is I just change everybody's sign. So I change the x squared to a minus, and I change the negative 2x to a positive 2x. Then I'm going to add down, because changing the signs and adding is the same thing as subtracting. X squared minus x squared adds to 0. That was kind of the whole point, is to get rid of that one term. So I'm now moving over one column. Negative 5x plus 2x is negative 3x. And my last step, and I'll try to do that in another color, R, is drop and repeat. Okay, so I drop the 8 and then I repeat. Now my D step in purple, that just says the first term divided by the first term. I'm just taking the negative 3x and dividing by x. If you need some scratch paper off to the side to help you, you can divide negative 3x divided by x, and the x's divide out and you're just getting negative 3. Well, where should I put that? I'm putting that at the top above the 8. Because negative 3 is a number, so it belongs in the number column. Everything needs to be nice and spaced out, and everything needs to be in clear columns. So that was my D divide step. In blue I have my M multiply step. So I'm taking this negative 3, and the negative 3 is going to multiply to actually both the x and the negative 2. Now I'm going to erase those lines in a minute, so you might not want to write them. But negative 3 times x is negative 3x. Negative 3 times negative 2 is plus 6. And now I'm going to erase those blue lines. The third step, C, the C step tells me to change both signs. So I'm changing the signs of the blue terms to be from negative 3x to positive, and from positive 6 to a negative. Change both signs. Now when I add down, the negative 3x plus 3x adds to 0. That should be a nice little pat on the back. Go ahead and pat yourself on the back, because that's what you wanted to have happen. You wanted that to add to 0, so now we're just dealing with the last column. 8 minus 6 is 2, and I can't drop and repeat anything else. So the 2, this is my remainder. So I'm going to add the remainder 2 over the original divisor, x minus 2. And this is my answer. X minus 3 plus 2 over x minus 2. Let's do this again. Step 1 says to set up your divisor. So we have 8x squared, that's the numerator, minus 6x minus 5. Notice that the x squared needs to come first, then the x, then the number, and there can't be any gaps in there. Then I put the divisor, 2x minus 3, out in front. D in purple. I'm taking the first term of the polynomial divided by the first term of the denominator polynomial. If you need to think about that, you can write it out. 8x squared divided by 2x. 8 divided by 2 is 4. X squared divided by x is x. 4x is my answer for the D divide. I'm doing only the first term by the first term because I can't do the whole polynomial by the whole polynomial. That's too hard. Once I get that, I can put the 4x up in the quotient above the divisor bar. It goes above the negative 6 because it's an x term, and we want everything above and below the x to all be this like terms in the x's. Now my m step says to multiply, so I'm taking this positive 4x and multiplying it by both terms in the divisor. 4x times 2x is 8x squared. 4x times negative 3 is negative 12x. Now I'm going to erase those multiply signs. Step 3, or C, it says change both signs. So I'm changing the sign from a positive 8x squared to a negative, and a negative 12x to a positive 12x. Change both sides. That's what the C means. Now, the 8x squared minus 8x squared adds to 0. Yay! That's what we expected to happen. That's what we were wanting to happen. If it didn't happen, then you probably made a mistake. Probably go back and fix it. But every time that these add to 0, it's like a little pat yourself on the back. You're doing well. Keep going. So negative 6x plus 12x is 6x. And then step R says drop and repeat. So I'm bringing down the 5 and repeating. So I'm back to the purple D step. So I'm taking the first term divided by the first term. So I'm taking 6x divided by 2x. You could probably do that in your head, but some people it might help them to see that the x's divide out and you're just getting 3. Now 3 should be in the number term, in the number column, which it is. So do you see that the very next column over? So that's another like pat yourself on the back that you're doing this right. M multiply, I'm going to take the 3 and multiply that 3 to both terms in the denominator, or the divisor. 3 times 2x is 6x. 3 times negative 3 is negative 9. I'm going to erase those marks. C says change both signs. So I'm changing the blue terms signs from positive to negative or from negative to positive. Notice that the 6x minus 6x adds to 0. And now I have negative 5 plus 9 is 4. Is there anything else to drop and repeat? No, I can't drop and repeat anymore, so the 4 is the remainder, which tells me that I can add 4 to my quotient answer at the top over the original polynomial's divisor. The divisor was 2x minus 3. So this is my final answer, 4x plus 3 plus 4 over 2x minus 3.